but I am from the D. Longfellow. I'm the editorial coordinator for the Elmhurst Independent newspaper, the one that brings you news such as this. The Addison Street parking PEC is opening January 15th. Do you see that typo there? Right in the headline. Yeah. That's me, but it got past a copy editor and my boss, so. I do want to recognize the people that have been on the executive board this year. For now, just kind of giving them a shout out. Our treasurer was Charity Algram. Where are you? Can you say a little hi? Yeah, thank you. And the first vice chair who ended up getting a different job and having to kind of move on, we're also going to give him a little salute later, but I want to say hi to Mike Himmis. Where are you, Mike? Can you wave to everybody? There he is. Thanks. And Tim Gurry, who is coming up as our new chairman of the board. He'll be up here in a minute. And I got something last year that I'm going to give to him. Yes. Something I'm going to give to him, and that is that last year when I became chairman of the board, I realized I really don't know that much about Robert's rules, so maybe I should get something to help me. So I ordered online this cheat sheet, this handy guide that you could just keep at your side. Look at this. Look at this. 6 laminated pages, and I don't know, but even if you're up close, can anybody read that print? I mean, maybe if there's somebody in here that's 30, but you got to be kidding me. You're supposed to look at this. Listen, Tim, I'll tell you something. Your Robert's Rules cheat sheet guide is standing right here. He knows everything.
I object.
So, are we doing this to the?
Yeah, before you say your words,
we're gonna
departing words, why don't we go ahead and
Mike
call
Himmis.
up,
Okay, do Mike Himmis. Come on up.
his retiring director plaque.
Mike is receiving his retiring director's plaque because he served us well and had to step aside.
So why don't you come over here and present it to him?
Okay.
And Mike, the good news is you don't have to say anything.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. Tilt it forward just a little. And that way, wherever Tessa is, she's going to get a photograph of that. Yeah.
Good.
Where's Tessa at?
Yeah. There she is. There she is, way back there.
Paul's over here too.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, that's right.
And now one for the people in the other room.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, they're being
you.
quiet this year.
Thank you very much. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Mike.
And speaking of last year, they're quieter they were a little noisier last year. But speaking of last year, I want to next acknowledge my predecessor, who was immediate past chair this past year, and that's Julie Miller Sheehan. Where are you? Oh, there she is. I was going to say, she's usually wrapped around Pat somewhere. Thank you. I kind of shortchanged her last year because when it was time to pass the gavel, I just kind of handed her the gavel and away we went. But I got to tell you something about her. She was a tough act to follow. She's far more organized than me. She reads all the stuff. I mean, it's amazing. And here's an example of what it's like to work with Julie instead of me. She called John one time to say she was spending a week in Paris. She'd be flying over this day, but she already had this lined up for that, and that lined up for this, and this person will cover this, and that person will cover this, and everything's fine, and see you later. I called John and said, hey, I'm driving up to Milwaukee for the weekend. Which leads us into John Quigley. John, here's another thing about working with me that's not like working with Julie. I called up John on March 20th, and I said, I don't understand, John. I know we're going to Springfield on the 22nd, and you haven't sent anything. We don't know what time we're leaving. I don't know who's going. I mean, you usually get us details like this, about this by now. And he said, that's probably because, Dee, it's April 22nd we're going. It's not March. Hey, it's better to be a month early than a month late, so, right? You know? So I want to say a little hello to my friends at the Elmhurst Independent, and thanks for letting me do all this. My boss was not able to be here, which means I can say anything I want. But another thing I kind of slipped on last year that I really need to do is acknowledge our photographer, Paul Del Giudice. Please say hello and wave or whatever. You guys might really know him because he pops up at all kinds of events and takes pictures, which is wonderful, and he's a huge help to me. And he did tell me tonight before my speech to be careful because he had no bail money with him. So, one thing I will tell you that's kind of fun is that this week, if you will recall, there's been a lot of things in the news for some reason this year about the 1967 blizzard. Remember that? It just like supposedly, I wasn't living here then, so I don't know, but it like strangulated the whole area. And nobody could get anywhere, and it was hard to even get to Elmhurst Hospital, which is unfortunately where his parents wanted to go because he was born on February 5th in the middle of that blizzard. Just couldn't wait another week or something. Huh? No. So, I do appreciate the Elmhurst Independent letting me do this. Let me go out and play this last year. My boss is great. I've already told you that. Most of you know him. Most of you know he's great. All bosses need to be a little bit of Mr. Dithers and a little bit of Bill Lumberg. I got to tell you, Pete Kruger is Bill Lumberg. I can say that because he's not here. But his mannerisms are exactly like that. If you could do this, that'd be great. He does that all the time. So, and they need to be a little bit of Donald Trump, I guess. But I have a little something in common with Megyn Kelly, the person that Trump was mad at and he refused to go to the debate. I have a state senator that treats me the same way. I'll just leave it at that. It has been an honor to serve, and I'm really looking forward to the dancers tonight. I think that's going to be great. I do have a little connection to dancing I'd like to tell you about before I get off the stage here, and that is my grandmother was a professional dancer. And that was back in the 20s, in the late 1900s, whatever. And she was actually a Ziegfeld girl. Isn't that exciting? Yeah. Well, when she left, when she stopped performing, she started her own dance school, her own dance studio. And one of the things, you know, in business, you got to supply and demand. You find out somebody needs something, and you put in, you supply it, right? Well, one of the things, according to a little brochure my grandmother had in her studio, one of the things that she taught was the art of the minstrel. Anybody know what a minstrel show is? Yeah, you're just being nice. Minstrel shows are pretty, they don't do them anymore because they're very, very racist. But it was basically a bunch of white men putting on blackface and doing very stereotypical jokes. And it was a show, and it was, you know, isn't that great? So they don't do them anymore, imagine that. But at the time they did, and they didn't have anybody that was teaching how to do it. So my grandmother made that part of her curriculum. And